Welcome to the Piece by Piece Autism Podcast with your hosts, Angie and Christy. They've worked 25 years to help Alec get the most out of life. Let them tell you how they're doing it.
Welcome back. Today we're talking about the parental priorities while caring for your autistic child. Autism is all-encompassing, and so you really have to stop and think about what your approach is going to be and how you're going to prioritize all of the many different things that will come your way and how you can treat autism.
Yeah, as we were discussing some of the main highlights in how we were going to break up and talk about things, one major topic that came to mind was being the teacher for your child. You obviously are going to spend the most time with your child, and we suggest learning how to teach your child if at all possible. We understand that ABA around the clock is not necessarily a realistic expectation. However, as you understand the principles of ABA and the basics of it, it starts to become your way of thinking. And something as simple as not giving your child what they want because they're whining for it, that is ABA in a very simple form. And as you start to implement those expectations for your child, in a way, you are running ABA around the clock. You may not be sitting down and doing discrete trial training and working on sign or language skills, but just being able to maintain a standard and an expectation that way. Also, figuring out what the balance is going to be between being the parent and being the teacher, and your parent responsibilities with other kids, with your house upkeep, with work demands, all of that can be tricky. And so one suggestion we had is to schedule that time as if, you were homeschooling kids from 9 until 11 o'clock. We're going to have a class session and then maybe an hour in the afternoon or whatever it may be that would fit the needs of your child.
Because you are homeschooling your child.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's a different kind of approach and it's a little bit more intense, but it's definitely that. I have to say that I never felt natural as a teacher for my child. I was grateful for the training that I got along the way from different consultants that I've worked with. I really am grateful for that. I'm especially grateful for learning to do the letterboard with Alec, because I'm able to communicate with him when I need to. Like, for example, yesterday he was at my house for hours and I was able to have his letterboard out and he was able to communicate with me, albeit not as great and as fluently as he would with someone who does it with him every single day. But I'm glad that I know how to do it. I really don't feel natural as a teacher, but I have been able to step in and do it when I've needed to, like when we lived in a foreign country and the number of people that I could hire were not very many.
Right.
And so I had to do some of the hours with them. I would also say that if your child is not going to have a home program and you have your child in a clinic setting, if you have your child in a school setting, that you get to know the teacher for your child very well. Like be there for drop off and pick up. Make sure that you're communicating through email if that's a possibility, or however the teacher prefers to have the communication. Make sure to go to the IEP meetings or your parent-teacher conferences or anything like that so that you can make sure that you stay on top of what's being done with your child and what the goals are so that you can have a say in that. We also talked about recently just how amazing it is how autism changes through the decades.
Mm-hmm.
Back in my day, people believed that autistic children did not learn past 8 years old.
Which is crazy. It's a crazy thought now.
fine.
And you didn't
Yeah.
buy into that thinking then, thank goodness.
No. And we were talking about how many things has Alec learned
Yeah,
just this past year as a 27-year-old.
right.
If I had thought he couldn't learn past 8, I'm so happy that I didn't buy into that. And I mean, it became very obvious to me as he approached 8 and he was learning more and more.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, I'm so glad that we just kept going on that.
Yeah, it seems silly that anybody would put a time frame on learning.
Yes.
Even when he was a young kid, that seems like not that many years ago to have that way of thinking, but
Yeah.
obviously we know that that is not true, and thank goodness you just pushed forward and remained
Yeah.
optimistic through it all and didn't buy into that, because Alec continues to learn skills, I would say, even at a quicker pace than what he used to. He's
Definitely.
he's generalizing so many of the skills that he learned years ago and is able to do and pick up on new skills very fast.
Yes. Yeah.
It's
I would agree
impressive.
with that. The next thing that we wanted to discuss is how do we make these decisions about what to do with our child? Because there are different therapies out there and there's different I mean, of course, I am a big advocate for ABA. I will
Right.
always be a big advocate for ABA. Whenever I was going in as a parent of a newly diagnosed child, the first thing I saw was ABA is the most proven method for dealing with autism or for helping your autistic child move along through life. And so I cannot stress enough how much I I am a person who believes in kind of getting my own inspiration for things.
Mm-hmm.
And as a parent, I've done that. Like I believe in a higher power that's helping me along.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think if that's not your thing, there's a thing called a gut feeling of what should I do? My gut is directing me to this or that because I can point back to different whys in the path where I was saying, oh, should I do this or do that? And I was really directed in a certain direction. And when I look back now, which I have the advantage of retrospect,
Right.
I can
Hindsight's
say
2020.
hindsight, yes. And I am very happy for those times that were crucial that I really listened to my gut and really listened to the inspiration that I received to say, oh, make this decision over here. And that can be, you know, decisions made as a family. It can be decisions made with one parent or the other, you know, with teachers helping you make the decisions. I mean, all decisions should be an educated decision.
Right. And you're gaining information from all these other individuals who are helping your child.
Yeah.
Obviously, you want to trust that they have the best interest for your child, but at the end of the day, it's you as their
Yes.
parent to really decide, okay, that sounds good, but there's something about that I don't like. So I think we're going to go this way. And I'm sure it's a lot of input to decide
Yes.
one output or, one route, so to speak. So,
Yeah. I mean, I remember with toilet training, actually, our first consultant went into the toilet training in a certain way that I didn't really feel great about. But I trusted him in so many ways as far as being managing behavior. He was exceptional
yeah,
doing table programming, building Alex's skill level. I mean, he was phenomenal.
yeah,
But there was something that didn't jive for me with the toilet training. And so I had to really be vocal in saying, I don't really want to keep going in that direction. So I
yeah.
think it's knowing when. And what turned out was that Alec wasn't ready to potty train. That was his thing. And so I felt like I was listening to my gut.
Giving it
And
a bit of a
yeah,
try. Yeah.
yes,
I
yeah,
think also that's a big part of ABA is implementing something and getting a little bit of informed information, data points, and making a
yeah,
decision after that. I don't think all is lost if you take a few steps forward and say, whoa, whoa, that's not for me. Rewind.
exactly.
Let's try this route. So not all is lost there.
Yeah.
Um, I would say too, now that Alec is at a point where he can communicate some of his thoughts and feelings and he's a little bit older, we like to get some buy-in from him. And if you can get
Yes.
buy-in from your child, by all means, let them have some say as to what they want in their day-to-day life and how they want things structured. Alec had a lot to say in making the shift as we transitioned him more into adult life. He, these are his words, wanted to be done with baby programs. And baby programs are any of the, at the table, we were doing a lot of receptive discrimination trials and what were some of our others?
Matching,
Yeah, a lot of matching.
sorting,
Yes, so much of those at the table.
activity
And
schedule.
yeah. And they're things that I, as the therapist at the time, really enjoyed doing because you could
Mhm.
track progress so easily. And
Yes.
it was a way to schedule out our time. And from his request, we listened to his wishes for his future and what he wanted his days to be scheduled with. And he finds enjoyment in the community. And so a lot of his early skills are now at a point where they're in real life application, where he is working and, you know, interacting with other individuals in the community instead of just these basic or baby programs, as he called them.
Right.
And Christy and I really coordinate and discuss when are we pushing too much? When is too much too much? At what point do we need to pull back? Where can we push him a little bit more? Does he need to be stimulated intellectually? And how can we challenge his mind? How can we challenge his physical strength? A couple years ago, we signed him up and did his first 5K. And we did some training with our team. And that was a really exciting thing that paid off a huge amount in the end. We didn't run it. um,
We
but
took a 20-minute bathroom break
we
at the
leisurely.
beginning of it. So we were very much, well, we had a couple of ladies that ended up finishing after us. They might have
Yeah.
been 95. I don't know. Nothing against 95-year-olds.
No.
They were just slower. They were walking it too. And we were thinking, wow, even with a 20-minute bathroom break, we didn't come in totally last
We weren't
place,
totally last.
but we were close.
We enjoyed ourselves, but we got to set goals with Alec and the team got involved and he was out and about and enjoying the sunshine and all of those things are what he finds enjoyment in. And so it was
And
a way
man,
to stimulate and
yes.
make goals for, you know, a physical goal.
And whenever people were cheering as he was crossing the finish line, it was just so satisfying.
Yes, yes, it was the most heartwarming.
So
So
fun.
we love looking at things in a little bit broader sense aside from your typical home program now, but
Yes.
that's taken obviously 20 plus years to get to that point. So it wasn't without Christy really listening to her gut and her guiding force to really get him to that point. But
Yeah. It
all
was
to-
a lot of foundational work.
yes, all to say, if your child is able to have some buy-in when appropriate, definitely let them do so.
Yes. Yeah, because we didn't always
No,
let him have as much leeway as he does now.
right,
So as part of being an adult, he's a member of the team also.
right.
So it's nice to have him weigh in. I like it. Um, Another thing you have to think about is, of course, we love the ABA, like I said earlier, but there are other therapies that you should consider. I really think that speech always made sense because Alec is nonverbal, a non-speaker. It always made sense to me that we use a speech therapist who could also really reinforce the ABA principles.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, speech therapy is important. Occupational therapy was important to Alec. He has some issues with coordination, motor planning, fine motor, pretty good with gross motor, but need the motor planning. He had some texture issues with food that
Right.
occupational therapists can help you with. There's so many things. I mean, occupational therapists have so much knowledge, and if you get a really good one that's very knowledgeable and willing to reinforce your ABA, then I think that can work. Sometimes ABA therapists will tell you that they can do everything, and I think if you can find a good specialist in those things, I think and you can manage to get the services, I think, you know,
By
give it
all
a try.
means.
At
Yeah,
least give it a try.
for sure.
And it's really good too if you find it. We found an occupational therapist who was really good at measurable success.
Okay.
So that I just loved because she would say if he's not making progress within this amount of time, we move on and we try
Yeah.
something different. I love that. And that approach makes sense to me. There were kind of crazy things like the hyperbolic chamber. Maybe I shouldn't call it crazy because some people may love it, and I don't mean to shame anyone about that. I had a friend who did it with her son, and she said her skin never looked better because she would go sit in there with it.
Uh,
And I don't I don't know that he made a lot of, I don't know that he got a lot of advantages from it, but I mean, who knows?
yeah.
Swimming with dolphins was a big thing whenever Alec was growing up. We did not do that. Uh, I don't really know what it would do, but it sounds cool if you live near an ocean and you
The
have that.
dolphins.
If, if you have a dolphin.
Yeah.
We didn't really have a lot of access to dolphins in Dallas, Denmark. I don't know. Denmark may have had dolphins. Yeah, maybe we should have tried that. But
Well,
anyway, we did not do that. There were Dan doctors that had different kinds of supplements and things like that. We never really went into that much. So there are all kinds of things out there.
right.
If you want one thing to stick with, I highly recommend, and it's been our experience that ABA has been extremely beneficial.
Yeah. The longevity of it.
And I'm not a spokesperson for ABA, by the way.
No.
I'm just, that's what we did. So
You could say the proof is in the pudding, though.
the proof is in the pudding. Yeah. And we got
Alec-
some pretty good pudding.
Alec is pretty good pudding.
It's great pudding. You need to protect your resources. Unfortunately, having an autistic child can be quite expensive. And you've got to just decide where the best place to put the money is. And I
Right.
know there's many people out there who do pro bono work. I know we had a consultant that did pay as, pay as much as you can kind of sliding scale.
Yeah.
So he would do that. Make sure that you take advantage of all free services out there. We did that with horse riding to get started.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really great to be able to go out and be able to get him on a horse and be able to really initiate the foundation of that without any cost involved. And we never really had to own a horse. We took one horse in for that was being put out to pasture, and she was very economical to have. But Alec had bonded with her, and so we just took her on to kind of help the nonprofit with her. And then there's bowling leagues, Special Olympics, the Best Buddies program. We've had a lot of luck with Alec meeting some friends there and doing some fun projects.
Yes.
And then there's employment agencies out there that will help get jobs. You have to look them up in your area. We have one in Utah that has been helpful in getting Alec employed for a little job during the week. We also really have to think about, as parents, you have to think about keeping your emotions in check. Now, that's an issue because, gosh, this is hard.
Yeah, this is a hard one.
it's so hard. And so sometimes you just want to break down, or sometimes you want to, you know, whatever you do to get out your frustrations. But I found, especially when Alec was younger, I think he's a little bit, well, I'm probably better at it too, but like he does not do well with high emotion. And so I really have to be careful with how I approach him and make sure that it's not overly emotional,
Right.
and really know that he has a thing still today that if he perceives me as being irritated by something or whatever, he doesn't like it. He wants me to be happy with whatever's happening.
He's so sensitive to how you're feeling, and he can pick up. You don't even have to say anything. He can.
No, and that's like he reads my mind. We've always said, oh, he reads minds. He reads minds. We've had people say he reads minds. He doesn't read minds. He is very empathetic,
So
an
empathetic.
empath. And
Yes.
so he just can pick up on what we're feeling or what I'm feeling as his mother. And so I have to be really careful about
Yeah.
making sure I'm keeping a positive outlook and saying things around him that are going to keep him up and support the people that support him.
Right.
So,
We also wanted to talk about safety concerns. Elopement is a common issue. We know that as the adult, the parent, if your child is non speaking, you are their voice. You need to advocate for them in using your voice. And again, this goes back to trusting those who are caring for your child. Do you know their teachers? Do you know the therapists? You're obviously letting them into your home at times for an in home program, but you've got to be the one speaking up and saying, "Ooh, that's not going to work for us in our home," whatever it may be. Like you said, Christy, just the toileting aspect. Everything else seemed great, but you didn't love
yes.
that, and you've just got to be able to say that. And hopefully, as you build that relationship with a consultant or those therapists coming in, that's not going to over and over be a difficult conversation to have, but just part of the evolving part of building a program. I know that at one point, a safety concern for you, knowing that when you guys left the house, you had kind of a finite amount of time to be out and about before you knew
Right.
disaster would strike or his patience would wear thin. And so
Yes.
getting a handicap placard was one way that you could bop in and out of stores a little bit quicker
Yes.
and avoid him, being in danger with cars backing in and out and blaring through parking lots as they often do. So
Yes.
looking
We,
at
of
some
course,
of those safety concerns is always worth your time.
well, we always use the child lock, and we
Great.
always put him in the back seat
Yes.
so
Yes.
that he's got a child lock, and we have a little bit of distance from him and the driver.
Yes.
And so, yeah, there are a bunch of different things we did to help with elopement, but the handicap placard was really, really helpful to get him parked a little bit closer to the store and then to be able to get him in and out quickly.
Yes.
It was always good.
Yeah, those transitions are hard. And I think that less resistance, the easiest path, be willing to take all the help you can get in any of
Right.
those instances.
Yeah. The other thing, put your mask on first and then your child's. This is longevity is important with autism. I don't have to tell you that if you're the parent or teacher, but you may feel like you're gasping for air sometimes, but
Yeah.
I think you have to reach out and let others help you and just get to the point where you can get some relief from time to time. We had this. I had this funny situation happen. Well, it wasn't funny at the time, but my husband and I have been discussing having Alec live in a group home.
Mm-hmm.
And we were really thinking that that was the way to go, and that would be great. And I think he has very big ears, Alec.
Yes.
And so he's kind of rummaging around in the pantry back in the background as we're discussing this. So then I take him up to bed, and he pulls his board to initiate a conversation with me, which I was thrilled about. And he says, "Mom can die now."
Wow,
And I said,
thanks.
"Okay, go to bed." I put it down, put the board down. "Okay, go to bed. Thank you." That wasn't very nice.
Yeah.
Um, I didn't get emotional about it. I just said, "Oh, okay." But then I went down to my husband and I got emotional about it.
Yeah.
And I said, "My gosh, he just said I could die." And my husband, without missing a beat, said, "Well, he overheard our conversation."
Yeah.
And I've always said, I can't die because I have to take care of Alec.
Right.
And so I've got to live as long as possible. And so when he heard that we kind of had a plan laid out for his future, he said, "Oh, you can die now. You're done.
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm good." So and then it became a heartwarming thing.
Yeah.
Like, oh, how sweet.
In his own way, he was trying to be kind and give you a little bit of the A-okay. I'm going to be okay, Mom.
Yes. Anyway,
Oh,
so reach out, let others help you who are willing to help you. My mom
yeah.
was willing to move where we lived for a while to help me when Alec was first diagnosed.
Yeah. Everybody's family structure is different. Are both
Yes.
parents
I
working?
mean,
Do you have a parent
yes.
in the home? Are you a single parent?
Yes.
Are you living around family, or
Yes.
do you have a friend support group? Do you have other parents who are in the same boat with autistic kids that you can discuss and, build
Yes.
relationships that way? If not, reach out and try and find some. I mean, I know social media, Facebook, all of that helps
Yeah.
connect people that way. So hopefully people feel as though they've got a support, but it's going to be
Yeah.
different and a different hard for every individual.
Yes.
I mean, it's not one way is not a right or easy way, but allowing the help is definitely crucial. You were given a valuable piece of information from a member of the faculty from UNT. Her name was Shala, and she told you to prioritize your other children and not make Alec the center of everything you guys did.
Yes.
And that could maybe be a hard thing to hear for some people. But
That
her,
was very hard to hear.
yeah, her point was that you need to create and nurture those relationships with your other children. They need to create and nurture relationships with the autistic sibling. And in not allowing the autistic child to be the center of all the family's activities, really boosted the morale for your family.
Yes.
How did you guys implement that though?
Well, your sister helped a lot.
Yes.
Angie's sister was our babysitter from the time that my kids were little, her older sister. And she would come and I would schedule her to be there for a few days so that our family could go on a little trip. And we would drive out of the house and I would immediately start calling her. "Brooke, did you lock the back door?" "Yes, I locked the back door." And then I would ask her, I would call her back in about 10 more minutes, and it would make me so nervous. I
Yeah.
could barely do it. But then once about 24 hours was up, I settled in and I
Yeah.
was like, okay, I'm really having just a few days off here, and this is great. So then we could be able to enjoy it. So that's what we did. I know when we were in Denmark, I know that they had these caretakers that you could have respite caretakers.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure where all that is available, but I know that in Denmark, you could get a respite caretaker that would come in and help with your child for a day or two so that you could get away and have a little bit of time,
Yeah. Yeah,
which
you
is really cool.
got to really be able to reset every now and again, knowing that
Yes.
it's not a short game.
Yes.
It's long term.
Mhm.
Like you said,
Yeah.
longevity becomes very, very crucial. But
Yeah. And I also think you just have to, you really can't, we can't stress enough that you need to find your people. If it's not your family, if it's not your spouse, if it's not your
mm-hmm.
church group, who can it be? Could it be you can find someone through your support group for children for parents with autistic children.
Mm-hmm.
There's, you just have to find that. And I highly recommend that you find that so that you can get the help that you need.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just wanted to bring up here that we, in our family, the way that our family is structured, we have 4 children total. Alec is our youngest. Then my husband traveled 5 days a week for 20 years of our life. So
Yeah.
that was a lot of Alec time growing up that he was not around. So he has never done any of the therapy with Alec.
Mm-hmm.
And it has very much been resting on my shoulders to figure out how to move forward with Alec and how to get him the best therapies available. So that's how we did it in our family. And I don't recommend that necessarily.
That is a lot on
if
you.
if
Yeah.
there's someone who can, if y'all can more equally, not equally. I mean, that's really hard to
Mm-hmm.
equally do anything in a family, but to be able to have both of you trained to interact with
Yeah,
your
split
child in a,
responsibilities or
yeah. And it's never going to be 50-50, but I mean, I was home with the children and he was working at a job where he had to travel 5 days a week. So that's how it sorted out in our
mm-hmm.
family. It was extremely difficult, but I did have some help as far as like teams eventually along the way and had my mom helping me somewhat. So
Yeah.
I just want to put that out there that families do come in different packages and
Yeah.
that you work with what you have and you do need to take care of yourself though all along the way. And I'm not saying that I did that well,
Yeah.
but I really want all of you to. So I'm really pulling for you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the main point here, as you as the parent are prioritizing the route that you want to take with your child, you just need to figure out with your family dynamic, with your resources, with the community that you have around and the available programs that you have, consultants, OTs, PTs, all the things. Just listen to your gut. Be the voice for your child. The buck stops with you. So, with that said, we are going to jump into our pieces that we love.
Yes.
This week, the piece that I want to share is my Stanley beer pint, which
And what are you drinking in that, Angie?
I hate the name. I hate the name. But we all know the Stanleys made its rounds. Everybody's got a
Yes.
Stanley. They're the bee's knees, yada, yada. But this is one of their smaller cups, obviously a pint being 16
pint.
ounces. Yep. And I have yet to use mine for beer. I'm more
But you
often.
could. But you could. You could.
You
have
do
the
what you
flexibility.
want, but
Yeah, you do
I
you.
most often put a Diet Dr. Pepper in mine. It holds it perfectly with some ice.
Oh, nice.
I like to just keep it on my counter for a quick, fill it up with my water and chug some. It's just nice. It's my cup. It's not a clear glass that I've pulled out that it's like, wait, whose is this? It's obviously mine because it's this really beautiful robin's egg blue color. And I just love it.
Ooh, I love that.
So if you're looking for a little summer cup to have on the counter, they've got the cutest colors, of course, and they're anywhere from 15 to 20 bucks.
That Amazon doesn't have?
Oh yeah, Amazon will have them. I'm sure they do.
We'll link it up for us, Angie.
Yeah, we'll link it for you. But
And then do you put a vinyl on it?
you bet your bottom dollar I do.
Oh, you vinyl everything.
You vinyl it.
You gotta vinyl it. So everybody knows it's yours.
That's right. That's right. That's the thing we're loving.
Love it. An autism diagnosis is no doubt overwhelming. But as you build your support system and decide what is best for your family and your child, choose your approach and confidently move forward. You can do it.
Yes, you can. That's a wrap for today's episode of Piece by Piece. If you're loving these conversations as much as we are, hit that follow button, share the show, and help us spread the word, because every piece of the story matters. If you've got a story, question, or idea, slide into our DMs to shoot us a message. We'd love to hear from you. You can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Piece by Piece Autism Podcast. That's PIECE, Piece by Piece Autism Podcast. Until next time, see you later.
See ya.